Hello everyone, welcome back to my team selection videos. This is the FPL Wire and this is Pras. Game week 3 is here, lots of carnage going on, players are blanking, Man United is losing, people are missing penalties, nobody has any points, or at least nobody who is on similar template to mine. So it's fun. Like I have said in the past that it's easy if everybody is doing well and then, everybody is meandering along and everybody owns the same players. If people are not doing well, it differentiates strategies. People tend to do different things. Some people are wildcarding, some people are looking to sell Palmer, some people are looking to hold Palmer. So I think it makes things a little bit more exciting. And, who doesn't like a little challenge if you start off not that nice? And why don't we start with that? So the start, game week 2, was not good at all. 39 points. Now, I think it was pretty much a case of if you own João Pedro, you had a decent week. If you don't, in my case, I don't, then you don't have a decent week. Because everybody else, for pretty much everyone else, I mean, unless you were free hitting and you had Gyökeres or you went for Gyökeres, was a little bit average. So I'm not too down about that. It is what it is. A lot of people got the Palmer auto sub for a Porro, so that was fine in my case as well. Maybe some regret on not starting Dubravka, but I was happy with the hedge with Sells because I don't have any other Nottingham Forest defender. So, no issues really. I mean, this is what I was saying to people. Apart from Palmer being injured, which is the highest owned player after Salah in my team, so him going out actually just shakes things up a lot. There's different viable routes on what people are doing. Some people went for Cunha earlier. I won't be doing that. I won't be going for a second Man United midfielder for obvious reasons. But it does open up strategies. People were selling Wirtz as well before his price drop. I have not made any transfers yet, but I'm close to making one or potentially two this week, and I'll talk to you guys about it. So that was it about last week. Doesn't matter, 7 million rank or whatever. I've said it in every video so far. Don't worry about rank so much right now. If this is 7 million by game week 10, then we will start to panic. So there was one thing which actually was new, which came up after Crystal Palace has, that they were originally in the Europa League, then they were downgraded to the Conference League. And what I've shared here is a chart that I shared before in my chip strategy video from Tala Nadim. And you see in this red box, I've highlighted this December 13th to December 20th, this middle column. And you see that after game week 16, in the same midweek, is the UEFA Conference League game and also the EFL or the League Cup quarterfinal game. Now, Crystal Palace didn't play the second round. They now have Millwall in the third round. So if Crystal Palace were to beat Millwall and whoever they face in the fourth round of the Carabao Cup, they will then have to move or potentially have to move their game to game week 17 game later. Why? Because they cannot play their Conference League game and the quarterfinal on the same day. So what is likely to happen is they will move the Carabao Cup quarterfinal game to the weekend of game week 17, and whoever Crystal Palace is playing as an opponent, their game and Crystal Palace's game will get postponed. So that's a little bit of a new thing. So now, what is the likelihood that Crystal Palace do make the quarterfinals? You can put your own probability on that because we don't know who they will face after Millwall, right? They could face Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, anyone. And in that case, it's very, very low. They could face a very easy side. In that case, it's very, very high. But even then, who do they face in the quarterfinal? Is it a team that is very important to us? Or it is a team not even in the Premier League? Like, all these scenarios are possible, in which case it could either be a big problematic game week 17, or it could be something which is not really a big of an issue. But I think what this does mean is that it helps to wait on at least one chip that is going to help you out with this. That one chip could be a free hit chip. You could just decide that I'm going to save my free hit until game week 17. And if this thing becomes a problem, perfect, I will play my free hit. Let's say Crystal Palace end up drawing Arsenal in game week, in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal. Now, in that case, that will be a blank for Crystal Palace. It will be a blank for Arsenal. So a lot of mayhem. So in that case, free hit will be very useful. Or you could just say, I'm going to save the wild card for later, like game week 13, which has been my plan. And then in game week 13, you will have all the information, because the fourth round of the the League Cup would have happened by game week 9. So by game week 13, you would know exactly if the Crystal Palace game is getting postponed and who are their opponents in that, and how is that blank coming along, when is it rescheduled for, and even more so, a wildcard can bail you out of it because you're getting all these free transfers around game week 16, 17 as well. I remember for AFCON. So it's not a huge issue navigating it if you have 8 transfers to navigate it. You're not going to spunk all of them, but that's the idea, right? That you don't need to have all of them. It's really just a blank that we're talking about. It's not that the double is necessarily scheduled straight after. There is a chance it happens in game week 16 for the opponents of Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace themselves cannot have a blank anytime before. So a double, I meant. So if the double happens after game week 19, anyway, you can't solve it with a chip, right? You'll have to solve it with transfers, because we are talking about the first half chips. So to repeat or to summarize, what I'm saying is Crystal Palace could have a blank in game week 17. Whoever they play in the Carabao Cup quarterfinal could also have a blank in game week 17. And to navigate that, it's advisable to at least save a free hit or a wild card for a little bit later. So people who are thinking about, let's say, free hit 4, wild card 7, you're taking a little risk here with these things coming up. You could still navigate it with transfers later as well, but that would be my strategy. So based on all of this, my current chip plan, which hasn't really changed, the only thing that has changed is the bench boost, is to free hit in game week 6, is to wildcard in game week 13, triple captain game week 14, or there'll be many other weeks, but game week 14 is when Salah is home to a promoted team. I forget which one that is. And bench boost in game week 5. It could be 8, it could be 10. I'm not going to commit to the bench boost, but I'm planning for a bench boost. And ideally, it is 5, 7, 8, something like that, because this Palmer injury has given this opportunity where you can spread the money a little bit, bench boost, and then just get it done with. And then in your wildcard 1, you don't worry about having a bench. You want to go with one cheap guy, a non-playing midfielder, non-playing striker, do whatever you want. So that's the opportunity that getting a bench boost out of the way gives you. So the backup chip plan, like I mentioned, could be that I bench boost in game week 5, and then if things are really looking bad, right? I mean, then if I have to wildcard, then I might think about a wildcard in game week 7 or 8. In that case, I will save the free hit for much later. So to wildcard in 7 or 8, I have to make moves this week such that I'm not committed to a free hit in game week 6. That's somewhere where I am trying to land. But at the moment, the left-hand side, bench boost game week 5, 8 or 10, free hit game week 6 is very much where my mind is. Wildcard game week 13 is very, very strong. Today, the news that Strand Larsen is going to stay or likely to stay, the news that, a lot of the players that I have are not moving, they're not going anywhere. It's only further strengthens my case for a wildcard 13. And I will talk about some paths that I'm looking at. So that's it on chip strategy. I have not got Rob T's numbers today because I didn't want to spend too much time on, a lot of team selection videos, Zofar, LR, others have talked about it. The fact of the matter is, it all that matters is captaincy this week. And you need to decide where you are in terms of captaincy. I'm going to be captaining Bruno Fernandes. I'm sorry if you disagree with that, and I'm sorry if you think I'm an idiot for doing that. I just think the reason I got Bruno Fernandes in game week 1 was for this week. I knew that a lot of people would not have him. A lot of people would not, believe in him. And I have to go for it. I don't have Haaland. I don't really want to captain Salah home to Arsenal. So, I don't want to double up on a Man United mid. If other people have gone for Cunha, I think they could consider it if they want to captain him. I think Mbeumo is a better captain. I said that on the wire as well. And if you wanted my perspective of Man United's lining up after Grimsby, I do think that it'll be similar to the ones that have started in the first 2 games, where Cunha will get minutes up top. Mount should play on the left 10. Mbeumo should start on the right 10. It should be Bruno alongside Ugarte or Casemiro. That'll be the front. I doubt if Sesko starts. But if Sesko does start, then there is a very minor doubt on Cunha. I think Cunha will start anyway, but Mount will come on at some point. It could be for Sesko again. So I think Cunha is fine for 70-80 minutes, but Mbeumo I feel will play just full 90 minutes. So if you wanted to go for that, he does still have those set pieces as well. he would be my preference, only by a little bit. I mean, as you can see in the expected point numbers, it's a very small margin. I think João Pedro and Watkins are also sort of slightly underrated, especially if João Pedro, if Palmer is definitely out, then he gets penalties. So I think good option if you wanted to pick him as your captain. And Chris Wood is fine. I mean, West Ham do allow a lot of shots. Murillo and Porro were interesting to actually see them up here. In this particular game against West Ham, people are expecting, or at least the models are expecting him to get, defensive contribution points and very high clean sheet odds as well. So he's the defender to own, and it's why he's on my mind as well for this week. And I will talk about how I can get to him. So that was on this week. I think a lot of people's dilemmas are on Palmer, so I've not focused on clean sheet odds or whatever. I mean, if you have your defenders, if you have decent enough defenders, then play them. Anyway, the clean sheet odds, I mean, if there's not an obvious clean sheet fixture, then it's about DEFCON points and stuff anyway. So I think, of course, Nottingham Forest defenders are great. This week your Spurs defenders are great as well, and then anyone else if you're playing them. Chelsea defenders could be good as well. Then we get to my team. So like I said, it's going to be short and sweet this week, but I will come through some paths as well, so don't worry. I have got a lot planned after this one as well. So I've got Sells in goal, happy with that. I've got Pedro Porro, I've got Anderson. So I'm debating between Anderson and Chris Richards. I'm only marginally favoring Anderson because of two things. Number one, Richards has just played on Thursday. So are his minutes as secure? I mean, minutes are fine, but, are the legs there for Crystal Palace? They did really, at the end of that Nottingham Forest game, look tired. Whereas, Fulham, it's a derby. Anderson is good for defensive contribution points and gives me a little special incentive that if Anderson does keep a clean sheet, then João Pedro is blanked as well. So it's a little bit of a, I'll root for Anderson. Van de Ven might go actually this week, even though home to Bournemouth, it's an okay fixture. But I think if I'm thinking long term, then I am looking at that spot if I can get him up to a Murillo or a Munoz. But more on that in a little bit. Midfield, I am generally happy with. I mean, I know people are not happy with Wirtz. I am going to give Wirtz the next 3 games, which is, of course, this week is home to Arsenal. Nothing great about this week. But then now that I've taken the price drop, might as well keep him for Burnley in Game Week 4, Everton in Game Week 5, and then we take it from there. Bruno captain, Salah, Reinders, I think all of these are good picks this week. Strand Larsen looks to be staying. I'm very happy about that because he was always a pick that I wanted for Wolves. Not that he wouldn't be a good player, but there was a scenario in which it would be Strand Larsen and Wissa, and then you don't know who's playing. He becomes a problem. Now it's almost like I don't need to worry about him until Game Week 12 because he's playing all the 3 promoted teams, Everton at home this week. So just generally a good pick. And then Ollie Watkins, home to Crystal Palace. He's not going anywhere. Initially people were debating, shall we go Watkins, shall we go Wirtz, shall we go Bruno? Well, nobody has done anything, but at least Watkins still has the amazingly great fixtures to come. So this is why I'm not panicking on any wildcard or any knee-jerk transfers for these players who have good long-term fixtures. I just, back the fixtures. Watkins after Crystal Palace still has, I think, Burnley and Sunderland to come in Game Week 5 and Game Week 7. So, yeah, I mean, absolutely no reason for me to panic on him. So that's that. Bench is a bit thin. This is why my thinking is, let's make the bench bigger. Let's make the my defense more robust. This is for you, Zofar, where you were like, my defense is not as robust as I initially said. Well, I will be making it more robust. So let's talk about my paths. So the 3 people that I want to change over the next few weeks is Palmer, Guiu, and Van de Ven. Van de Ven is fine. Like people will say, why are you switching your 4.5 million defender? I just want a better defender. I want a better defense for 12 game weeks. And to do that, I want a defender that is called Murillo or Munoz or Gabriel. Those are the guys that I've been considering as my 3 defenders who I can not perma play, but pretty much rely on for difficult fixtures, for DEFCON points, for good fixtures, for attacking returns or clean sheet points. So the thinking is that Palmer could become any one of Sarr, Anderson, Tielemans, Rice. Now, these are not very appealing, but each of them are there for a reason because they're not the same price, right? So if I went for a Sarr, then I could take Guiu up to Mateta. It doesn't have to happen this week. It can happen the week after because ultimately I'll have to bench somebody this week. So I can just do Sar this week. So I'm in path A right now. I can do Van de Ven to Murillo. You saw how big Murillo's numbers were. So it immediately bumps up my defense. It bumps up my my midfield. And in game week 4, I get Mateta home to Sunderland. And in that path, by game week 7, Mateta can become Gyökeres and Wirtz can come down to Rice. So I get Wirtz for the good fixtures, I get Mateta for the good fixtures, and then I get... The aim here is to get double Arsenal by game week 7, no matter what, because they have a home game against West Ham. And if I'm not wildcarding, the wildcarders will be tripled up on Arsenal. So I want to have double Arsenal by game week 7. I want to have double or triple... what is this team? Crystal Palace for the two very good games, Sunderland and West Ham, which are coming in 4 and 5. So that's really the thinking. And of course, this assumes a free hit in game week 6 and a bench boost in game week 5. I'll come to you on what my bench boost looks like if I go with path A. This is the one I'm right now favoring the most. Now, why am I going Murillo and not Munoz? Unfortunately, I can't because I've got Richards. So Sar, Mateta, and Richards are my 3 Crystal Palace. I would have loved for this Murillo to be Munoz, but I have made my choice with Richards. Richards did very well. He got def 1 points in the conference game league game today. But there are still other parts where Munoz comes into the picture as well. So, but A is where I'm currently leaning, and I'll show you my bench boost team, what it looks like, because A just gives me a very good, more robust defense. It gives me a good attacker for this week. It gets me Mateta next week, and it gets me double Arsenal. The only flaw in this plan is I don't have an Arsenal defense now for game week 7. The idea would be defense would come a little bit later. But with the defense of Porro, with Murillo, with Anderson, with Richards, maybe I can get away with it. It's not the end of the world. But yeah, that's my one flaw in this plan. Then plan B is I don't downgrade Palmer to a more expensive midfielder in SAR, but it's somebody cheaper like Anderson or Yuri Tillemans. I could then do Guiu to Mateta this week because I don't want to play Anderson or Tillemans this week. So I will get Mateta this week. I'll get Munoz the week after, which is game week 4 under path B. And this gives me that extra 0.5 that I need to now also make the sells to Raya move and do Watkins to Gyökeres. So again, in this case, I'm on double Arsenal. This time it's a defense and an attack, and so I've got that. But the flaw in this plan is, number one, I don't love Anderson or Tielemans as much, and second, I'm losing Watkins by game week 7, which I don't really like because Watkins has a very nice fixture in game week 7. So that's a little bit of a problem. So I thought maybe go down even further. For Palmer, go down to Stack or a 5.0 like Dewsbury Hall. I can then take you all the way to Gyökeres. So I can get Gyökeres this week. Is it the best week? Of course, it's not because they have the Liverpool fixture. But you know what? Gyökeres is on penalties and he's going to be there in my team for the next 12 weeks. So that's one consideration that I had, that maybe just go straight to Gyökeres and go for a cheaper guy from Palmer. Don't love it as much, but it has its positives. You can go Van de Ven to Munoz next week. You can get Wirtz to Rice and Richards to Gabriel. So this way, I'll have triple Arsenal by game week 7. I'll have Munoz and Richards for Crystal Palace. And Stack basically never plays, apart from the bench boost in game week 5. So it's one I'm considering, but A is again where I'm leaning towards the most. And then the last one is a little bit similar to A, but in this one, I'm not going for Sar, I'm going for Rice straight away. So in this case, I have to get Mateta this week because I don't want to play Rice this week. So Mateta comes in next week because I don't have Sar anymore. I can get, instead of Murillo, I can get Munoz in this case. And then I do in game week 7, Watkins to Gyökeres. So I'm okay with this. I think it has some legs as well. But if you were to ask me and really put me on the spot and say, where am I? I'm going to be likely to be A and less likely to be B. There is a world in which I just decide not to do the defender move, but and just do Palmer to Sar. But that's going to come down to my judgment on other things, on how much do I think my defense is robust enough. The one other thing I didn't talk about in path A is because if I go Murillo, it leaves me a little bit open if I want to free hit in 6 or not. So if I've got Sar, I've got Murillo, I've not committed to Mateta. Next week I could go somebody else. I could, save my transfer. I could not I would leave it as it is, and then for game week 6 I could use 2 transfers and get somebody else. Like I could do Salah to a cheaper guy and get Haaland and not free hit in game week 6, wildcard in 7. Remember the backup chip plan that I had. So this is why A makes the most sense for me, where I'm leaving options open, getting a good guy in Sar, getting a good guy in Murillo, and then just leaving it there. But I do want to show you that if I did go through with plan A, what does that look like for Bench Boost 5? So this would be the team where I would end up getting, Sells in goal away to Burnley, Dubravka home to Nottingham Forest. They obviously play each other. Obviously, I'll pray for a 0-0 because I've got double Nottingham Forest defense playing double Burnley defense. One of them keeps a clean sheet or not, we'll see. But at least, you can see the idea that it's not too bad as a defensive double up. Then you have Porro away to Brighton. I mean, Porro is good anyway. Anderson home to Brentford, good fixture. Richards away to West Ham, very good fixture. So that's my defense. I think all the guys are playable this week. In my midfield, I've got Salah and Wirtz home to Everton, Sarr away to West Ham, Bruno home to Chelsea, Reinders away to Arsenal. I mean, Man City can give them a game, right? And typically in these games, Man City end up having a lot of possession. Arsenal sit back, so you never know. Like Reinders could do something. I think a lot of people will play him as well. So it's not a bad guy to have on your bench boost. And then Strand Larson home to Leeds, Mateta away to West Ham, and Watkins away to Sunderland. So it's pretty good, I think, for a bench boost. Am I expecting 20 points? No. But can one or two of these guys return? Maybe. It's possible. So the main purpose of this is get rid of the bench boost in game week 5, and then you get, there's lots of paths to get Palmer back if I want to, because I can downgrade any of Watkins or Mateta down to another Giwi or anyone else. And then for the rest of my life, I will never, until I have to bench boost again in the second half, I will not have to worry about, having 15 players. And that's the thinking. The other beauty about going through this path is that if I change my mind about path A, if I change my mind about going for a bench boost, then I don't need to take giveaway up to somebody else. I just have left the money and left optionality to do anything. All I've done is done Sarr and Murillo in, and you just take it from there. So that's the other point where I like this as an option going into the international break where anything can happen, and I don't want to commit into, a bench boost or anything else. And then after game week 4, having a lot of money in the bank, you do what you want. You get who you want. So that's it. That's all my thinking for this week. Like I said, it's going to be very, very likely that I will do option A, which is Palmer to Sarr and Van der Ven to Murillo, and then we take it from there. I'm not happy not having Munoz, but can't have everyone. All right. Actually, I should say there's a chance I go B as well, because when I just said it that I won't have Munoz, I felt very bad. So yes, there's a chance I go B. So it's between A and B, and then we see what happens. All right. Thank you for listening. Good luck for game week 3. I hope players score points. I hope some players that I own also score some points, but also don't worry about it. It's still very, very early. All right. Good luck.